Hey there gamers, DreamcastGuy here. Today we're talking about Xbox because a couple hours ago, Bloomberg actually posted a top secret report. Bloomberg actually got access to a bunch of different high up executives at Xbox and asked them about the very bad changes happening to Game Pass, because in the last 72 hours, we've been talking a lot on this channel about how bad they're trying to butcher Game Pass. They're cutting features, they're reducing discounts, they're actually almost doubling the price of Game Pass month by month. But worst of all, there is talks and internal testing right now that they're about to put commercials on your Xbox. Literally, while you're trying to play it, it will pause the game and show you an ad. Or even when you're booting the game up, you got to watch a literal 2-minute ad break for like a Whopper Jr. But I want to talk about this because the leaks from the Xbox employees show the fact that honestly, I do think this is the end. I do think that very soon here, every Xbox studio, the Xbox console, they're all about to be gone. And I don't think it's because the games are bad. I don't think it's that they're making bad decisions. It's honestly that Microsoft expects the impossible. But let me break down the math, because honestly, their leaks are crazy. Also, this video is going to end with me making fun of some old Xbox fanboy tweets because they're definitely not aging the best. But let's get into it. Hi, hope you're having a great day. And if you could, please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I have to admit that it's been very crazy covering and watching this kind of unfold. The fact that literally Xbox Game Pass getting community noted for literally lying about how bad this is. Being like, oh, we're just changing things up. We're just trying new things. Oh God, look at this. The console wars in the present day are so funny because it's just Sony and Nintendo pretty much doing their own thing at this point, and Microsoft is repeatedly shooting itself in the foot and stepping on rakes about 20 times a day. Now, the whole idea of Game Pass, and the reason I feel like it's become more and more off-putting, is that they're trying to do such a unique beast, which is that obviously when it comes to most companies, even if it is like Ubisoft, Nintendo, Sony, anybody, they're doing the classic business model, right? We make a game, we make Ghost of Yote, we make whatever, we sell it to the customers, and we get enough money, we get enough profit to make a sequel, to make the next game, to make the next project, right? Same with Nintendo. All right, we're going to sell you a system, we're going to sell you controllers, we're going to sell you exclusives, and that keeps us in the green to keep churning stuff out. Whereas Microsoft, their idea was to try to copy Netflix, where instead of just giving you a steady flow of games that keep you buying them, they were like, all right, what if we just get 100 million people to pay a tiny fee every single month? That way it'll pay our bills, it'll be cheaper for them, and we give them a constant flow of just not just our games, but other people's games as well. We can license other games and put them on Game Pass as well. But the problem is that the math never really worked. I've been talking about this for years, but I never really believed in the profitability of Game Pass because not only are games expensive, but it's about the acquisitions. Like, let's just talk about the current numbers, right? Like straight up, Microsoft has said their goal originally was to try to get Game Pass to 100 million subscribers. 100 million. Now the current numbers is they're around 35 million. And at this point, it sounds like honestly Game Pass sales are dead. If anything, they're in free fall because so many people are unsubscribing right now. But okay, let's just even say current numbers, right? Until this price increase, they had 35 million subscribers, and each person paying about $20 a month. What is that? That's like $700 million a year. Just on paper, $700 million a year, that's not bad. That could actually fund a couple big AAA games every single year. The problem in my mind is the acquisitions. It's the fact that honestly, these full page ads, all this kind of stuff, I just feel like there's no way they're actually going to break even on top of the constant buyouts. I've seen a lot of people actually even like basically saying, screw modern games. I'm just going to go back to retro. I'm tired of subscriptions. I'm tired of always online content. I'm tired of free to play garbage that gets deactivated the second you start enjoying it. I'm seeing a ton of people straight up say, I'd rather go back. I'd rather play emulators. I'd rather play retro games upscaled than new current day slop. But here is the real kicker. This is the leak that a lot of people are sort of reacting to because it is kind of bizarre. The acquisitions of it. So Microsoft's idea is that obviously Microsoft, they have $3 trillion with a big old T, right? So their idea was, okay, there is a stagnation in the growth of Game Pass. What if we could jumpstart that with buyouts? What if we could just keep purchasing stuff and purchasing stuff? Let's buy Bethesda. Let's buy Doom. Let's, of course, buy Call of Duty. Let's buy Activision Blizzard. This is nearly $100 billion of acquisitions they spent in about 5 years, right? And during the course of that, a lot of people are kind of saying, okay, how does that break even, right? Like, let's actually just consider that. Even if they were making $1 billion a year, $1 billion a year, which still, obviously, they were nowhere near that with Game Pass before this price increase, that's still going to take 100 years to break even because their hardware isn't profitable. A lot of their software isn't profitable. People aren't buying Xbox games. It was just very obvious to me and very obvious to a lot of people, in my opinion, that it just was never actually going to work out. But now, apparently, this is the thing. This is the actual numbers that have actually come out now from Bloomberg. So the big experiment was last year. They said, okay, Xbox Game Pass, we're increasing the price, but when we do it, the new Call of Duty is going to launch day and date. Here it is. We promise the next Call of Duty is going to be the biggest, best, craziest, most bombastic, and it'll be in Game Pass day one. By their own math, they lost $300 million putting that into Game Pass. Now, if we're using that original number, $700 million made on Game Pass every year, they lost the amount of money that Game Pass practically made. They lost about 50% of their total Game Pass profit from just last year instantly because of one game. And apparently, people at the top were pissed. Call of Duty lost sales is one of the key reasons why Game Pass price has increased. Now, I want to take a look at all the numbers of this because everybody is just being like, all right, they're going to lose a ton more because I ain't paying for that. Pretends to be shocked. Wait, you mean to tell me that Game Pass hurt sales? One of the strangest talking points that I have been talking a bunch on this channel, a bunch of people have dug into it, is that Microsoft's claiming that, like, oh, if we put stuff in a Game Pass, people don't necessarily buy less games. But that was just so obviously a lie. Like, third-party people that weren't under the Microsoft umbrella would talk about it a lot. All right, if I'm selling a game for $30 on PS5 and it's $30 on Xbox, but then it goes to Game Pass, I'm going to get 0 sales on Xbox, 0. So it does kind of be that thing of like, all right, if that Microsoft paycheck, if that Game Pass paycheck, that upfront fee isn't enough, there's no way I'm even going to bother putting stuff on Xbox. People get mad when I say this, but let me be clear. Provably, Xbox gamers don't buy games. People always get mad. They will be like, anecdotally, I buy games and I have an Xbox. Okay, I'm glad you do. But I'm saying measurably, systematically, put it on the chart. It's a tiny, tiny fraction of people that are actually buying Xbox games. But right, look at this. They said the merger would not affect prices. Oh, God. It's just so wild to me. But a lot of people are also talking about this because what's funny is that, God, lost sales are one of the main reasons they did. So there was a very long court case. The FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, basically tried to block this deal. When Microsoft was trying to buy Activision Blizzard, they had this very long months and months and months and months and months of drag out court cases with the American government. Because the American government, and specifically the organizer of it at the time, the head of it was a woman named Lena Khan. And she was on record saying, I don't think this is good for business. I do think that straight up, if you do this, you're going to choke out the gaming consumers, the people that are enjoying this. You're going to basically raise prices. You're going to jack up the price. You're going to basically try and put everything on an island and price it as high as it can possibly go, which will hurt consumers, which will hurt the games, right? And what's funny is that Microsoft said, no, we're not increasing prices. No, we're not going to do a bunch of layoffs. We're just wanting to things exist as it currently is today, but the profit goes to us. It was a lie. It was straight up. There's no other way to say it. Every single person said, hey, this seems like a lie. Literally every single thing that Microsoft said under oath, including Phil Spencer, tons of Phil Spencer testimony and stuff, was just a lie. Literally every single thing they said was lying under oath. I mean, maybe they were like, oh, well, that was our plan at the time. Plans change. It's still just wild. Oh my God. It's so funny. Literally, remember when people thought they'd add all the past COD titles to Game Pass? Hilarious. This is the thing more than anything else, is that a lot of Xbox fanboys were really doing a victory lap when this deal was going through, saying, this is it. Finally, Game Pass is going to be something you have to get. We're going to have all the old Call of Duties. They're going to bring the servers back. We're going to have upscaling on old ones. We're going to have all the best new games. People will finally understand that Game Pass is the best deal in gaming. But now a lot of the Xbox people, and I give them huge credit for this, a lot of Xbox fans are realizing the Activision Blizzard deal ended up breaking them. The Activision Blizzard deal clearly is that tipping point where before this, like the entirety of Xbox was this little teeny tiny fraction of the $1 trillion Microsoft business. They were allowed to be not profitable. They could just be off in the corner doing their own thing, making cool games, experimenting, just being over in the corner. But once they started doing these big acquisitions, suddenly all of a sudden, Microsoft's paying attention. The eye of Sauron, Satya Nadella, just starts laser focusing and going, why aren't you guys profitable? Why are you spending so many tens of billions of dollars of our actual profitable money on this that's so in the red? Oh my God, I want to keep going through this because it's so interesting. Microsoft CEO Amy Hood was asked to find other ways to increase profit according to current and former employees. Everybody is just like, okay, does she actually believe that Game Pass would have made $5 billion without Call of Duty? The suits are killing Xbox. All the goodwill they worked so hard to build, it's sad. Look at this. Here's the thing. That franchise makes more and more money every year. This is a BSP. Some people are sort of doubting it that the growth of Call of Duty has been a pretty high up chart. It seems like every single year, Call of Duty manages to sell more and more microtransactions, more people getting addicted to Warzone, which is the free-to-play Call of Duty, and buying those microtransactions. But I do think that it's not just that Call of Duty is becoming less popular. I do think that there's a little bit of franchise fatigue. Obviously, Call of Duty is still a very big thing, but it is interesting that I feel like as its popularity has waned, this is a bad time. I do think there is some franchise fatigue, and this was truly the worst time to suddenly think, all right, let's try to slap Xbox logos all over all the boxes. Let's call it Xbox Gaming, even when you boot it up on PlayStation. I'm always curious about stuff like that. Does that actually affect the casual consumers, the very boring people that maybe don't understand business mergers and FTC hearings and stuff, right? All these numbers make sense. What doesn't make sense is that Xbox put Call of Duty on Game Pass day one, told the courts the merger would not cause Game Pass prices to go up and to just turn around and increase them, the process because of lost sales. Surely they saw this coming. Everybody is like, brother, this is truly a corporate plot twist. It's just so funny watching this implode because I'll be honest, it was so obvious. I don't know, like maybe it's just that I read too many business books or that I got too much free time to stare at the internet and watch a dumpster fire burn brighter and brighter and brighter. But to me, it was always very obvious that these extremely expensive acquisitions weren't going to lead to Xbox taking the lead. I mean, Xbox is so far in third place, even if you try to act like Xbox isn't about a console, it's just an idea, they weren't going to catch up. I just think Game Pass was always a failed experiment, at least in my mind. All right, I want to end with this tweet here, which is, this is Jez Corden, one of the very biggest Xbox writers. In my opinion, one of the biggest Xbox fanboys. He runs a bunch of Xbox podcasts, goes on Xbox podcasts pretty much 7 days out of the week. And even last night, apparently, he has decided he's going to stop podcasting or has randomly stopped doing his Xbox fanboy show. He has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tweets claiming that Lina Khan is hurting gamers. Here she is in 2022 saying corporations sometimes trying to convince the FTC to back off blocking an illegal deal by trying to make these comments and swearing they'll use their power for the greater good. Lina Khan was 100% right. I think a ton of Xbox fanboys, I have seen a ton of Xbox people actually straight up saying Lina Khan was completely correct. This merger was not just bad for Xbox. In a way, it seems like it's bad for Activision as well. It was just bad across the board. But it is funny to see that Jez Corden at the time was super pounding the drum. Lina Khan should resign. She is blinded by ideology and ignorance of the gaming industry and seeks to use Xbox as a bludgeon to the detriment of consumers across the entire world, not just the US. Jez Corden made multiple, I think he wrote 25 articles on his website, basically being like, look, it is for the good of all gamers. The whole world wins if Activision Blizzard gets bought by Microsoft, that Xbox winning means everybody winning. That's what they kept saying. Satya Nadella kept saying, we want competition. Let us have competition. If Activision is doing this, if Nintendo is doing this, if Sony is doing this, let us do this big buy. Let us try to catch up. And it's funny that literally so many of these tweets, antitrust laws don't let us turn a blind eye to illegal mergers just because firms promise some unrelated social benefits. Our role is to serve as law enforcers to block unlawful activity, not as deal makers who accept reduced competition in exchange for unrelated benefits. Please resign. You're harming consumers. Now I'll give credit. Jez Corden, he has eaten crow. I'm not pretending this is the current frame of mind of Jez Corden. Jez Corden himself has not only basically stopped championing Xbox in the same way as of 72 hours ago, but he has even publicly stated that he has left Game Pass, that he has unsubbed from Game Pass. It's wild, man. I do truly think this is the end of Xbox. I do think that very soon, I would guess by May of next year, I think they're going to start selling off studios. I do think that straight up, we're going to start to see them breaking off chunks. I do think they're going to break off and try and sell Call of Duty as a chunk. They're going to try and break off like id and Doom and sell that as a chunk. They're going to try and break apart a lot of their Ubisoft deals. I do think that a lot of these contracts, a lot of these deals, a lot of this business, it's not just over. At this point, I think Microsoft is looking for an exit strategy. I truly do not believe there will be a next-gen Xbox. Or if it is, it's not going to be made by Xbox. It's going to be like that Asus ROG Ally. Another company will produce the next Xbox, and it'll just have an Xbox sticker slapped on a micro PC. But how do you guys feel about it? Does this seem as crazy to you as it does to me? It is interesting just learning about the bad business, because a lot of these corporations, for all the money they make, they seem kind of stupid. These are some off-the-cuff thoughts. Good morning. Hope you're having a great day and have a great weekend. I'm going to go lift weights, and then I'm going to play a bunch of a top secret game. I almost said the top secret game I'm playing. Never mind. I'm just hanging out.